Alright, so I'm going to do a blind-ish reaction to this. The character assassination of Son Gohan. Now, Gohan is my favorite character in Dragon Ball. Ranks in my top 10 of, like, all my favorite fictional characters of all time. So, like, I have zero tolerance of any slander on my boy. I already started watching a little bit of it. I got like 5 minutes in. And by the 2-minute mark, I already was questioning what the point of this video actually was. Because he says some things that don't make a whole lot of sense. And then he goes on to elaborate on those things, and it doesn't really explain or answer anything. And then when I hit like the 5-minute mark, I was tempted to like write out like this multi-paragraph response in the comment section. Excuse me. But I decided that it'll be easier for me if I just reacted to the video and responded. So around the 5-minute mark, I've already seen. But beyond that, this is going to be a blind reaction, and I'm going to be pretty much responding to what he says point by point. I already disagree with what he's saying, and there's one really big part of it that is kind of just going to keep it all together, or make it all fall apart. But let's just get into it. I will be pausing, so apologies, but this is sort of a pseudo video response, if you will.
Son Gohan. How did it come to this? But the latest character development he's gotten from Akira Toriyama came in the form of a goofy-looking transformation that's a blatant rehash of his original Super Saiyan 2 form. From being heralded as the new protagonist of Dragon Ball to only being included in Superhero as a favor to a movie producer, when did it become blatantly clear that Akira Toriyama was just done with him as a character? Many would say when he became a completely useless nerd in Resurrection F, others would say it's when he jobbed in record time during Battle of Gods. As for me, I would go even earlier, back to the serialization of the original manga. But first, as I awkwardly pretend to walk down my green screen, could you please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as that would be greatly appreciated.
See, I will start with this. This has nothing to do with Gohan just yet. But like, we're only 53 seconds in and you're already asking for a like and a subscribe? No. No, provide value first. Then I'll consider it. I'm not just gonna subscribe to any old dude. You know, you gotta, like, have quality content. I personally really hate it when YouTubers start their videos, like, from the get-go with, like and subscribe. It's like, no. What? Who are you? Anyway.
So as I was saying, I believe that the downfall of Gohan's character can be pinpointed to the cusp of what many people claim to be his greatest moment. I believe that Gohan's first character assassination at the hands of Akira Toriyama took place during the Cell games.
It's a very strange claim to make, you know? Like, I know he kind of already said it, but that's sort of when most people would agree Gohan peaked. So, like, how would this simultaneously be a character assassination if, you know, this was, like, everyone's favorite moment involving this character? I don't get it.
Now, we all know the Cell games. It began with a clash of the Titans, Cell versus Hercule. Unfortunately, Cell got a lucky hit on the GOAT, and so Goku had to step in. Now, he gave it his all and pulled out all the stops against this perfect abomination, but his best wasn't good enough, and in a first for his character, Goku put his fists down and gave up, leading Gohan to take his place to fight against Cell. Right after some good sportsmanship from Goku, that definitely won't cost him his life. It was Gohan's turn to step up. His entire character arc, from when he was introduced as a mere infant was leading up to this moment.
Disagree. I really disagree with that statement, and I hear it a lot. I hear people say stuff like that a lot. Like, oh, everything led up to this moment. No. Everybody knows that Toriyama doesn't plan shit, and he kind of just flies on the seat of his pants. Like, especially when it comes to Gohan. Nothing was planned out when it comes to Gohan. Like, what part of anything that had occurred since Gohan's introduction even remotely hinted at this climax for the character in the Cell games? Literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I digress.
But then he said something strange. Just as the fate of the world rested on his shoulders, Gohan decided to come out as a pacifist?
Stop everything. This is where it falls apart. He barely got started, and it's already falling apart. Here's the thing. Language is important. Words mean shit, you know? Like, I know what he means to say. Like, I know what he's saying. But what he's saying is not what Gohan is saying. Gohan is literally saying, almost verbatim, because, Japanese translations, so, it's not 100%, obviously. But, like, word for word, the translation for this, and it drives me nuts that he has the manga panel here, and he's, like, still... But Gohan literally says, unlike my father, I don't like to fight. I don't want to kill anybody. Please stop this. This fight is meaningless. At no point does he even use the word pacifist or pacifism. In fact, I don't think that word, in general, was ever uttered by anybody in the entire franchise of Dragon Ball. I don't think anyone has ever used the word pacifist or pacifism in the entire series whatsoever. I challenge you to find me a quote or a statement from any character, like literally any character, who has used this word or whatever the Japanese equivalent to this word would be. I doubt it. I really doubt it. But most certainly not Gohan. That's not what Gohan's saying. Let's look up the word pacifism. Good thing I already did. Pacifism. Quick Google search. Takes like 2 seconds. The belief that any violence, including war, is unjustifiable under any circumstances, and that all disputes should be settled, I did the thing that I'm accusing him of, by peaceful means. Now, you could sort of argue that, well, Gohan is literally asking Cell to stop the fight. So, in a way, he is pleading to him that, the fight should end. I don't want to fight. We should stop fighting. And I get that. I sort of understand that angle. However, pacifism is the belief that any conflict can be settled peacefully. And that's not what Gohan is doing here. Gohan's not trying to say, hey, Cell, I know that you have, this program into you. You have this program where you're literally just assigned to kill us all and murder people and all that stuff. But I'm pretty sure that if we sat down and talked it out, we could settle our differences and, you could just, live a peaceful life and we could all live happily ever after. No, Gohan's not doing that. Gohan is saying, I don't want to fight you because I'm not a fighter. That's just not what I do. It's not my thing. He doesn't like fighting. And it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Gohan wasn't introduced into fighting in any sort of, positive capacity his entire life. He'd been thrusted into this shit since the beginning. And he's going to cover this. That's the crazy part about this video, is that he's going to cover this information. It's not that he doesn't know. It's not that this guy, casual anime guy, it's not like he's not aware of what I just said. But, like, even after he acknowledges it, he kind of just ignores it and continues going on his tangent. So, like, I don't get it. Like, that kind of answers everything right off the bat. First of all, Gohan never came out to be a pacifist. That's not what he is doing here is not what pacifists do. It's not the same. And this is the entire crux of his argument. This is the entire basis of the rest of this video, or at the very least, a lot of what I've seen after this. I don't know if he pivots into another thing, but, like, anything involving this word and any other uses of it, like, no, you're just straight up, like, wrong. And it's very strange that this is like a thing that people do. It's like that thing when you're in an argument with someone and they try to reframe what you said using different words. And it makes even less sense when it's online, because, like, you're typing it out. Like, the words are in front of you. Like, I typed the thing, and I sent it to you, and you have what I'm saying to you in front of your face, and you're trying to, like, reinterpret it. Like, no, like, read my words. Read what I said. It's like, oh, you're trying to say blah, 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 and then whatever comes out of their mouth, or whatever they end up typing, is, like, not even close to the same sentence that I typed, and it's like, what are you doing? It's not even like a straw man. It's just, you're just not reading what I'm saying. You just didn't read it. Reading comprehension is essential, kids. Please, stay in school and learn how to think, not what to think.
Much to the shock of his father. Now, to be fair to Gohan, he did indeed fight against Cell initially, but his heart just wasn't in it, which led to he and the rest of the Z fighters to be tortured by Cell and his newborn babies respectively. Now, this scene, these lines from Gohan have always been somewhat controversial amongst the Dragon Ball fan.
These lines from Gohan? You mean the ones that didn't have the word pacifism anywhere in its text? Okay, so this is like my third take. And the last time I read these, and basically these comments, like these Reddit posts and stuff, they're doing the same thing he's doing. Like, they're going off of the fact, or they're going off of the term pacifist as, like, the basis of what they're saying. Like, yeah, because this guy's listing all the different things that happened to Gohan up into the series. It's like, oh yeah, he was a fighter, he was there for all the moments, and he didn't have any problem, like, fighting Raccoon, or, like, fighting Frieza himself, and yada yada yada, but when Cell comes in and now he's a pacifist, like, no, that's not what he said. He did not say he's a pacifist. And the word pacifist gets thrown around across these comments multiple times. And it's like, no, that's not what that word means. God, no. At no point did Gohan ever say anything about being a pacifist. Holy shit. That was literally the only time Gohan ever says that I'm a pacifist is in the Team 4-Star Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which is not the official Dragon Ball. That's their version of the story. Like, what the hell? It's... Christ.
Base, arguing whether or not Gohan acted out of character during the Cell games. But it has been pretty widely accepted by fans that this was a logical place for Gohan's character to be.
You know what doesn't make sense to me? Like, they're saying that, like, oh, Gohan acted out of character. Name another moment. Give me any other situation where Gohan was told, hey, I need you to fight this guy right now, and he just did it. Obviously before the Cell games, like, because we're still talking about, like, everything leading up to Gohan, like, fighting Cell. At what point between the beginning of the Saiyan Saga, where Gohan was introduced, all the way up to the Cell games, did Gohan ever was ever say, "Hey, it's my turn to fight now." And I'm not talking about when he like rages out or anything. I'm not talking about when he has like one of those moments where it's like, oh, my back's to the wall. I'm stuck in the corner. Now I have to fight because I literally don't have any choice. I'm talking about like, all right, guys, we're gonna do that thing that we always do. We're gonna stand around and we're gonna have one person fight the bad guy. And Gohan, you're next in line. Gohan, you go up and you fight them. And Gohan's like, yeah, I'm gonna go fight him. At what point did that ever happen? What character are they referring to when they talk about out of character? Who is this character we're talking about?
How could he like fighting like Goku when all of his fights since childhood took place during death matches against aliens? Meanwhile, Goku's fights during his childhood took place during fun adventures or controlled environments. And yeah, I was on board with this line of thinking. That is until I reread the manga, making me the 13th Dragon Ball fan to actually read this thing and really paid attention to how Akira Toriyama wrote Gohan and his character arc up until the Cell games.
Alright. I'm gonna confess. I'm gonna put my ass on the line for this one. I've never read the Dragon Ball manga. I don't know what differences there are to the Dragon Ball manga to the anime. To the Ocean dub, to the Funimation dub, to Kai. I have absolutely zero knowledge. I'm speaking in the perspective of an anime watcher. So when I think of Gohan, I'm also including like the filler arc between the training for the Saiyans, including like the orphans and his dinosaur friend that ended up getting eaten and all that stuff. So that version of Gohan is the version of Gohan I'm talking about. I don't know how different that version of Gohan is to Gohan in the manga. So for all I know, at some point later on in this video, he's going to mention something that I wouldn't know about, and then there'll be egg on my face, and I'll have to take that L. But I seriously doubt that there's anything in the manga, especially like in regards to this point he's making, because he literally showed the panel that like this whole thing started in a moment in the manga that didn't happen. So I have to wonder what could reading the manga change about your opinion on the subject. Something very different must happen in the manga in order for this point to make sense. Sorry, people driving my street.
And it turns out that Akira Toriyama had not given a chapter, a few pages, a panel, a single speech bubble foreshadowing or alluding to Gohan's pacifistic nature.
You know why? You want to know why Toriyama didn't do that? Because you made that up. Gohan's not a pacifist. That's the whole point. That's the whole end of the conversation. Like, that's it. You're wrong. Like, I mean, yeah, you're right that he didn't do that, but you're wrong in the fact that, like, that he had to. Why would he? He's not a pacifist. I don't know what character we're talking about. I don't think we're talking about the same character.
In fact, Gohan being in such death matches in such a young age gave his character arc the exact opposite effect. Let me explain. Gohan was introduced as a shy, sheltered child who had an insane amount of potential, first displayed when he shattered Raditz's space pod, armor, and ribcage.
Okay, so he's starting by acknowledging that Gohan is shy and sheltered. Right? Shy and sheltered. Okay. Now, that's literally polar opposite to Goku's start in Dragon Ball. Goku was living on his own. He was very outgoing, very polite. He was sort of polite and well-spoken, sort of. He didn't have, like, social boundaries or anything like that, but he couldn't help that shit. But, like, in in a way, Goku was sheltered from, like, the rest of the society. But, like, he was a jungle boy. What can you do? So, like, alright, shy and sheltered. We're starting with a character that would, I don't know, someone who's shy and sheltered. That sounds like the path of a pacifist to me.
After the death of Goku, Gohan gets kidnapped again, but this time not by his biological uncle, but by someone who would become something like a father to him.
I wanna emphasize something about
After
that.
the death of Goku, Gohan gets kidnapped again.
Kidnapped. He was kidnapped again. Kidnapped meaning taken against your will. Unwillingly. He's unconscious. He's being stolen. Okay. I wouldn't call this a character moment. But sure, let's continue.
But this time, not by his biological uncle, but by someone who would become something like a father to him. During this training in the wilderness, Gohan slowly begins to become more self-reliant and begins to mirror his father as the months go on. I mean, just look at the way he cooks that dinosaur and tell me that isn't something Kid Goku would do. Hell, Toriyama even draws him as a mini Son Wukong, aka Son Goku, on a chapter cover. But even so, when the Saiyans arrive, a mini Goku he is not, as he's too scared to attack Nappa when he had the chance. But when he sees that his inability to act and use his strength when necessary can lead to the deaths of innocents, this is where Gohan finds his resolve on the battlefield. Even without a rage boost, he manages to land a solid kick to Nappa's jaw, was eager to join Piccolo and Krillin's plan to rush Nappa, before that plan went wrong, and even suggested that Piccolo leave the battlefield while he would somehow hold it down until Goku got back, because if Piccolo died, the Dragon Balls would too. And when Piccolo did in fact die, Gohan tried his best to avenge him immediately. Later on in the saga, when Goku was getting crushed by Uzaru Vegeta, it's Gohan who demands that he and Krillin go back to support him. He then goes on to fight Vegeta one-on-one and is integral to his defeat by deflecting the Spirit Bomb back to him and crushing him while in his Uzaru form. See, Gohan's character had developed in such a way that being engaged with such brutal battles at such a young age gave him a very strong sense of duty to do what's right and protect his friends. It wasn't a game to him, so for Gohan to be reduced to tears, begging a being for mercy that he thought killed Piccolo at one point and threatened to blow up the earth for no real reason, Gohan begging Cell for mercy like that without doing everything he could to stop him initially is a completely out of character moment for him.
Alright. I think all that makes sense in a vacuum. Like, alright, Gohan has always been known to, in dire situations, take action when his friends' lives are in danger and stuff like that. I have a counter argument to that, but I kind of want to keep going because I wonder if he'll address it. So I'm going to continue for a bit. Let's see if he's going to derail what my rebuttal to that would be.
This is a character who faced down Nappa as a 5-year-old child, and Nappa was an absolute beast. Remember that scene in the anime when he was just tearing those fighter jets to pieces? Man, it sure is a good thing that there are no fighter jet destroying aliens in this video sponsor, War Thunder.
Okay, so I guess he's going to go into that. So, here's the thing with all that. What's the difference between Gohan fighting Nappa, Gohan fighting Vegeta, Gohan fighting Goldo, Gohan fighting Dodoria, Goldo fighting Frieza, Goldo... wow. Holy shit, I got tongue-tied. Gohan fighting Frieza, Gohan fighting the Ginyu Force, Gohan fighting his own dad. He doesn't really do anything in the Cell Saga. Well, basically, all that, up until Cell games. What is the difference between any of those moments and the Cell games. I'll give you like 10 seconds. Too late. Time's up. In every single one of those moments, Goku was either not present or out of commission. As in, like, unable to fight. The entire time Gohan ever had one of those moments where he had to take on someone on his own, it was not only a moment where, like, he was put into a blind rage, so he kind of just, like, moves on his own whenever that happens. And it's not like, yes, of course, Gohan does have it in him somewhere to pull up the resolve to act when he needs to. And that took a while for that to come out. And he's a good kid. Like, of course, he would think to make the right decision where, you know, if someone's in trouble and he's last fucking line of defense, then, you know, he'll go in there and act. But in the case of the Cell games, there's literally no reason whatsoever that all of the fucking Z Fighters present, including Goku, including Vegeta, including Trunks, who are all Super Saiyans, by the way, the other humans, there's no reason that they're not all jumping Cell at once. You know? Like, the whole prospect of the Cell games being a tournament at all, like, to them, or at least to Gohan in this case, this is just Cell and Goku just fucking around. Because, unlike Goku, I don't know why I need to say it, Gohan doesn't fight for fucking sport. It's not a game to him. Fighting has always been, like, just a moment of life and death. And Cell and Goku, both Cell and Goku, have been treating this entire thing like a game. So, like, yeah, no, Gohan's not down with that shit. It would probably be a completely different story if this was just, if Goku and Gohan took Trunks and Vegeta's place and they were just on a mission to stop Cell. Although, at that moment, you could argue that Gohan wouldn't have needed to do anything because Goku would be the one who would achieve Super Goku and just finish off Cell right away. Or if Gohan was there and Goku was being dumb, he would, like, probably finish off Cell himself. Who knows? That's not what happened. But, like, in the case of the Cell games, there are 4 Super Saiyans present. There's no reason for Gohan to be fighting Cell one-on-one. This isn't a game to him. On top of the fact that, like, Gohan genuinely believes that Goku is literally just fucking with him. Like, what are you doing, Dad? You're the strongest of all of us. Why aren't you fighting Cell? Like, what the fuck? Like, even right after Goku quit, he literally was trying to, he literally asked Goku, was like, what are you doing? Like, why didn't you just, like, why are you quitting before you even got to go all out? And Goku's like, I was going all out. Like, I was trying my damnedest. That was the only time. That was the only time that he knew that, like, or not even knew, but he was informed that, like, yeah, no, Goku can't even do this. Like, now it's up to you now. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? What do you mean? If you can't do it, then we all should be jumping up. No, it's up to you, Gohan. The fuck? It's not the same. It's not even close. He's not dealing with people who are, like, actively trying to, like, kill him directly. Cell is just looking for, like, a fun time. And Gohan's not here for it. Like, that's the whole point. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to indulge you in your bullshit. I came because my dad is about to fight, and apparently he can't do it. So, like, Yeah, he just didn't have... Like, it would take a lot for him to just assume that, well, if my dad couldn't do it, then I guess I will. You know? Unlike when he was a kid, it was like actual super do or die moment where it's like, if I don't do something right now, I'm gonna die and everyone's gonna die. But like, there are so many alternatives when it comes to the Cell games. It's like, why isn't anyone helping me? Like, what the fuck? Like, why are we still doing this? This whole thing started because you motherfuckers kept tempting fate and just let Cell just have his fun and do whatever he wants. And now you're dumping all that responsibility on me? Man, that sounds familiar. Holy shit. But like, yeah, no. Like, none of those moments that came before is remotely close to similar to what's going on with the Cell games. I wouldn't call it a character assassination. Like, the circumstances are different. Yes, everyone's in mortal peril. But like, everyone's in mortal peril for apparently no reason. Like, Nappa and Vegeta showing up wasn't, like, a direct result of, like, Goku doing something stupid and, like, antagonizing them or whatever. Like, kind of. That is kind of what happened. But I'm not talking... What I mean is, Goku didn't, like, hey, I want to fight even stronger Saiyans than Raditz. And Vegeta's like, oh yeah, well, bring it on. I'm gonna come to Earth and beat y'all ass. And Goku's like, bring it. And Gohan's just sitting there like, what the fuck? No, don't. No, you fucking died fighting Raditz. I know this analogy isn't making any sense, but like, what I'm saying is, pretty much everything about Cell's achievement of perfection could have been avoided. And they just chose not to. There's just a series of decisions made by everyone that wasn't Gohan to lead to this moment. So, at this point, Gohan is just of the idea that, like, alright, everyone's just fucking around. If no one's gonna take this seriously, then why should I?
Shut the hell up so he could go with Bulma and Krillin to Namek in order to revive their fallen comrades. Even Goku came to admire his fortitude in what may be the first instance of Goku seriously considering that Gohan could succeed him and do better than him as Earth's protector. So as for Gohan being a pacifist that hates fighting, yeah, I'm just not buying it. It completely contradicts everything in the manga. Hey, what are you looking at? You're weird.
You're not funny.
The train, he gladly image trained with Krillin for fun while journeying to Namek, and when they landed on Namek, he gladly took out some Frieza soldiers while looking proud of himself with a smile on his face. May I add that these soldiers landed in the water and so probably drowned, and Gohan doesn't care at all. Before the Cell games, Gohan is consistently portrayed as being
See, like, okay, yes, yeah, I get it. These are got some Frieza soldiers. But, like, Gohan can sense energy. Gohan knows how strong these Frieza soldiers are. So the fact that he was, like, look, he was able to easily take them out. So I imagine before he engaged them, he knew that he could easily take them out. He couldn't just easily take out Cell. Like, you just couldn't. Like, this wasn't, like, you would have to truly believe that Gohan was perfectly able to kill Cell as a regular Super Saiyan, or I guess Super Saiyan grade 4, for this point to even stick. It's like, yeah, Gohan did that. He did it because he knew he could. He knew that he was strong enough to do it. He took out the Frieza soldiers. Look how easy it was. He's doing flips and shit. That's not even like that's not even really a... That doesn't help your point. It doesn't add to the point at all. We have to compare a version of Gohan that's up against very apparent, unsurmountable odds.
Before the Cell games, Gohan is consistently portrayed as being down to fight, even to the death, and provide backup to his friends when necessary. He was the first to try to attack Final Form Frieza, and when he came back to Earth as a cyborg, Gohan put on his Saiyan armor and flew to confront him, and I highly doubt he was going to propose a peaceful negotiation. He trained with Goku during the 3-year time skip to
Wait, what? What?
Put on his Saiyan armor and flew to confront him, and I highly doubt he was going to propose a peaceful negotiation.
So you do know what a pacifist is? What? What the fuck? I need to hear that again.
To confront him, and I highly doubt he was going to propose a peaceful negotiation.
Yeah, he wasn't. What? So you do know what a pacifist is? Okay, so we're just playing dumb now. All right. Mind you, this is the blind part. I haven't seen this part, so I'm... Holy shit. So, what's the point? Like, he was going, yeah, but like, you know, did he expect that he was going to, like, actually fight Frieza? Probably not. And once again, Gohan is not present, or Goku is not present in this situation. So it's like, it's either him or Vegeta. They're the only two that have a chance. Like, you think he was going to leave the job to Vegeta? You think Gohan was just going to stay home and let Vegeta take care of Frieza? Even if Vegeta was perfectly capable of taking out Frieza on his own, do you think Gohan would trust him with that? Hell no. Hell the fuck no. Yeah, he went. Duh. I don't even know why he brought up the peaceful negotiation thing, because that also never happened. Hence my whole point of him not being a pacifist. That's just not something Gohan does. Why did you even bring that up? You just told on yourself. You know what the fucking word means. What the... I don't understand.
He trained with Goku during the 3-year time skip to prepare for the android threat, and in an instance of genius writing from Toriyama, he shows both Gohan's eagerness to fight and foreshadows Goku's heart virus as he tells Gohan to slow down and save his strength.
So he's flying ahead of him. What? Yeah, okay. Does it say that Gohan's eager to fight? I mean, he's taking it seriously. Like he always does. This is normal. Like, yeah, we were just told that we're going to die by these androids, so we got to take care of that threat, you know? This ain't out of character either.
Goku's heart virus as he tells Gohan to slow down and save his strength. Then during the fight with androids 19 and 20, Gohan backs up Piccolo without any hesitation. Now, I'm not saying that Gohan is a fighting maniac like Goku, but the few times we saw him fight with minimal stakes, he enjoyed it.
Yeah, when he backed up Piccolo, guess who wasn't present and out of commission? Hey, yeah, that's right, Goku. Yeah, his father's not there, like always.
I'd say that while Goku primarily fights due to enjoying it and secondarily out of a sense of justice or duty, Gohan is the opposite. he fights mostly to protect others and kinda still enjoys the thrill of battle somewhat. But even still, you may be thinking, well, maybe...
Wait, huh? What? Yeah, that was really impressive. You're really something else. I guess I shouldn't be surprised after all you got Goku's blade jump. Thanks, Krillin. I was surprised how many techniques you have. At what? Wait, what? What part of this displays that Gohan enjoys fighting? I mean, he's surprised at Krillin's fighting techniques. That's all he's saying. He's having a nice, casual conversation with his friend about, like, how good of a fighter he is. You're pulling nothing out of hat right now.
Enjoys the thrill of battle somewhat. But even still, you may be thinking, well, maybe Gohan had his pacifist revelation during his time during the hyperbolic time chamber, as that gave him a lot of time to reflect. And yeah.
Well, no, because he's not a pacifist. Like, no, that didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
That would have made sense if Toriyama had drawn any of that. Gohan just trains for a straight year. Toriyama had the perfect opportunity to explore that part of Gohan's psyche, and he just didn't. And that's because I am so certain that he only came up with this Gohan is a pacifist who's nothing like Goku plot.
See, you keep bringing up the panel, but you keep using words that aren't even on the panel. Stop! Like, you're not even... God, I'd hate to be in a conversation with this person, because anything you say to them will just go right through them. It'll go right past them, and they'll just go off their own interpretation of what they think you mean by what you said. That sounds like most people I know. It's very frustrating. You know how aggravating it is to try to have a conversation with someone, and you just cannot, like, get to them at all about anything. It doesn't even matter what the subject is. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It could be like a fun conversation, it could be a serious conversation. But like, everyone will always like have this filter in their brain when they hear sentences. They like reinterpret the words that come into their head, and they come out with completely different words that mean completely different shit, but maybe sort of be vaguely related. But like, it's like you're playing telephone with one person, and they just cannot get the message. I don't understand. You have, like... What part of this statement, unlike my father, I don't like to fight, I don't want to kill anybody, is out of character for Gohan? I don't...
Point, maybe even just a week, 2 weeks before he actually drew it. And the reason why I'm so confident is only 7 chapters prior, Toriyama introduced us to another version of Gohan. A version of Gohan that would become a fan favorite. He introduced us to future Gohan. Now, unlike the superior anime adaptation, the manga version of History of Trunks is rather brief. However, we still gain some insight into
I doubt that was intentional, but I must acknowledge a good pun. I cannot let a good pun pass like that.
Personality of future Gohan. Firstly, on a visual basis, we do see a Gohan, albeit an unprepared one, that has indeed succeeded his father in fighting to protect the Earth, as he wears a gi like Goku's with pride. He's seen training future Trunks with a smile on his face. You'd think that a Gohan in an apocalyptic future would absolutely despise anything to do with combat. See, with this Gohan, what Toriyama could have done if he always planned for him to be this combat-hating pacifist was give him some lines lamenting what had become of his life, that he always wanted to truly become a scholar and not have to fight. And when he confronted the androids, he could have had some lines trying to convince them to listen to reason and that their violence is pointless. Instead, Gohan lands ready to fight and kill the threat, as he's consistently been portrayed throughout the manga, but tragically, he loses his life instead. Okay, so by now you may be thinking, well, why would Akira Toriyama do this to Gohan's character in the first place? And
that's not what I'm thinking. That's not what I'm thinking at all. I'm trying to find what the point he's making is. Because once again, in the case of future Gohan, and especially in the case of future Gohan, who is at his most extreme of this version of this scenario that he's always put in, guess who's not present / out of commission? Literally everybody. Like, he is Goku in this case. He is the guy who he always believed was the strongest guy. Like, the one thing that has always remained consistent about, like, Gohan is how much he adores and looks up to his father. Right? And that is true all the way up to the Cell games. All the way up until, like, he actually, like, makes his transformation. That has always remained true. So in Gohan's eyes, and he said this before, he said this several times, my dad's the strongest there is. My dad's gonna beat you up. Oh, you may kill us, but you're gonna be real sorry when my dad shows up. He's always thinking about Goku saving the day for him. And future Gohan does not have that luxury. Not only does he not have that luxury, he doesn't have the luxury to even rely on his friends and family because they're all dead. And the only one left who has any kind of potential to even assist him dealing with the androids is Trunks. Does that mean Gohan enjoys fighting? Does this mean future Gohan enjoys fighting? No. He's just put in another extreme circumstance where all of his friends and his family, including his father, the guy he thinks is the strongest guy out there, are all dead. So by default, he doesn't even have, like, oh, well, if my dad's gone, at least we have Vegeta. Oh, wait, no. Vegeta's dead. Well, if Vegeta's gone, well, at least we have Piccolo. Oh, wait, no, Piccolo's dead too. Well, if we don't have Piccolo, at least we have Krillin. Oh, no, he's dead too. Future Gohan is a version of Gohan that has no excuse to be the strongest guy. And we've already established that Gohan will stand up to a challenge when he needs to. But the difference between this, just like every other circumstance that came before the Cell games, Gohan, in his mind, didn't need to even be there in the Cell games. Because Goku's there, and Piccolo was there, and Vegeta, and Trunks. They all could have jumped Cell. But no. They instead decided to have this stupid tournament that he wanted nothing to do with. It wasn't like... It's not the same as like an immediate, like, life or death situation where if I don't do something right now, everyone's going to die. That didn't come until, you know, he actually transformed. And I guess 16th speech made him realize that. But, like, you know, this is still a very in-character version of Gohan. It's the circumstances that he's surrounded by that makes it seem like what's going on is different than what's going on in the Cell games. It's not the same. It's not even close.
To understand that, I think we have to understand Toriyama's mindset during this era of Dragon Ball. Around the end of the Namek Saga, Toriyama took part in an interview wherein he said, "I fret about the next story developments. After all, if I don't power things up even more, you all might not accept it." As you probably already know, Toriyama didn't start his career as a mangaka redefining the very genre of shonen action. Instead, he began as a gag mangaka. By the way, I just wanted to say that if you end up looking into Toriyama's back catalog, do not read Lady Red. Worst mistake of my life. This guy's sense of humor is absolutely fucked. Pun not intended. He then got his big break with a gag comedy manga, Dr. Slump.
I'm gonna look up Lady Red.
He then went on to write Dragon Ball, a series influenced by his love of martial arts films and Journey to the West. However, initially Dragon Ball wasn't all too popular. It's only until Toriyama had the idea of combining the martial arts genre with some kind of a competition, as that was really popular when he drew Dr. Slump. And so, Toriyama would go on to introduce the readers to a series of tournaments that would come to define the franchise and cause Dragon Ball to surge in popularity as he introduced readers to the And with this surge of popularity, the action of Dragon Ball would only increase from there. Goku would go on to fight assassins, entire armies. The 22nd Budokai would be less gag focused as Goku faced off against the martial arts prodigy Tien, and then an event would happen that some people would argue is where Dragon Ball Z truly began. Krillin died at the hands of Tambourine, and Evil Incarnate would be introduced. The once light-hearted world of Dragon Ball would be darkened by a Demon King, and Toriyama absolutely loved it. After all his years as a gag mangaka, this was a breath of fresh air to him. To write a truly reprehensible demon as the villain, and Goku engaged with him in a battle so destructive that people thought that the series would be coming to an end. But it wasn't the end, it was a new beginning. Toriyama only wanted the battles to grow more intense from there, and so he demanded that Goku be allowed to grow up, as his stubby child limbs were restricting the dynamism of the combat he had imagined in his mind. Now you need to keep in mind just how unprecedented this was. To change the look of a main character is risky business, especially in the cutthroat world of shonen manga, but Toriyama was adamant and the risk paid off. Dragon Ball would soar in the Shonen Jump rankings with the 23rd Budokai, where
I find it interesting that that was a big deal for manga back then, because I would have said, well obviously I live in the West, so the values are not the same. But I would have said that, like, it would be crazy to think that this character would have to stay the same the entire time. But, you know, I'm not a mangaka.
when Goku would defeat Piccolo and become the world's strongest. And so logically, to escalate the action, it was time to go beyond Earth, as it was revealed in one of manga's greatest retcons that Goku is actually an alien, and after an epic battle with the Saiyans, which had the fate of the entire planet hang in the balance, it was obviously time to go out into space and fight Frieza, in a battle so intense that the planet itself exploded as Goku fulfilled the Saiyan prophecy as he battled with the planet-destroying Galactic Emperor. Well, after defeating the strongest in space, it was time for the Z Fighters to conquer time itself, with killer androids, a Super Saiyan from the future, a bio-android from the future, editors constantly interfering with the story, battles which had to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Super Saiyan, Ascended Saiyans, Cell had so many spots, there were so many timelines, how many battles, so many editors, and burnout. By the time the Android saga rolled around, Akira Toriyama had burnt himself out on constantly escalating action, and when you read the manga, you can see this reflected on the page. You see, from the very first Budokai, when Toriyama was upping the action in Dragon Ball, he had this talent of portraying depth and dynamic angles in his fight scenes. It's like he created 3D spaces out of a 2D medium. And when he introduced the ability of flight to his characters, this 3D aspect of Dragon Ball's action exploded. The paneling and choreography were simply amazing. Toriyama would make use of beam trails and auras in order to guide the reader's eye around the action. In terms of action, the manga really did peak at the Namek saga. I mean, just look at this panel of Vegeta here with the exploding debris of the island just flying past him. You can't find action like that in the Android saga. The fights are still good, but lack that explosive dynamic edge. The spectacle that had come to define Dragon Ball's action was absent. Take Piccolo vs 17 for example. Many people point to the anime version of the fight as one of the most underrated fights in this series, as the two combatants split the earth, smash each other's guts out, and cause an entire volcano to erupt.
Alright, so, real talk. You're losing me. Because I thought we were talking about Gohan. Like, this video is very padded out. Not gonna lie. And I personally have, like, a thing with people who can't speak in short, concise sentences. Like, we just did a whole breakdown of, like, Toriyama's history making the manga. Like, yeah, I get it. Please, get to the point. Why is this video so long? We're not even halfway there.
Meanwhile, the manga version of the fight is very low-key. It looks more like a scuffle rather than a clash between two entities that could destroy the entire planet. Another example is Goku vs Cell, lauded as one of the greatest fights in all of Z hands down. And how could it not be? The speed, the skill, the power of Cell and Goku is on display in superb, fluid animation. However, the manga version of the fight is quite underwhelming in comparison. Don't get me wrong, Toriyama's art is still...
Honestly, I don't even know what the hell we're talking about anymore. I thought we were talking about Gohan. Like, why are we comparing the anime to the manga? Is there something different in the manga that is in... is there something that occurs differently in the manga than in the anime that about Gohan? Because, like, yeah, I get it. The manga is not as fleshed out as the anime is. Sure. What's the point? What does this have to do with Gohan? Please, fuck.
Great, but to me, it's a shadow of what it once was. At one point, the highlight of the Dragon Ball Z anime fights were when the anime would adapt Toriyama's choreography. However, this was no longer the case, and this trend continued with the Buu saga, as once argued...
We're not even talking about characters anymore, we're just talking about the fights. This whole thing started with the character assassination of Son Gohan. Why are we talking about the way battles have changed throughout Dragon Ball's history between the manga and the anime? This has nothing, like... What part of the fight... My god, like... This isn't even a conversation about characters. This is just a conversation about fights. It's like, we're not even talking about fights. We're talking about the character assassination. Not the fight assassination. What the fuck?
To be the best fight in the saga, Super Saiyan 2 Goku vs Kid Buu was completely filler. To me, it's clear that Akira Toriyama wanted to go home, back to his comfy realm of lighthearted action, funny gags, and low stakes. Remember that quote I mentioned earlier from Toriyama, the one where he talked about fretting over having to escalate Dragon Ball's action even higher past the Namek saga? Well, that wasn't the whole quote, as Toriyama went on to say that he wanted to find new ways to draw Goku looking cool, but he also wanted to find ways to keep making use of Gohan.
You literally went that entire fucking roundabout explanation and background of Toriyama's history for a half of the quote that has nothing to do with the character? You're not getting that like or sub. I'm telling you now. You're not getting it. Just because of that. Like, that's it. Like, no. Mm-mm. This was the important part of the quote. This is the part of the quote that actually has anything to do with the conversation being had. That's Gohan. we went on this, like, nearly 7 minute tangent on something on a quote that wasn't even about Gohan, or at least a part of a quote that didn't have anything to Gohan, and we're just now getting to the part that actually addresses the character, that addresses the topic of the conversation. Nah, I'm not subbing to that. You crazy.
And Toriyama did indeed find a way to make use of Gohan. Think about it. If he could convince the audience that Gohan was always this pacifist character, if he could then take Gohan and make him the protagonist of Dragon Ball, that means he could then steer Dragon Ball away from being so action-focused and become something a bit less serious. But first, he'd have to give this action-focused era of Dragon Ball its proper send-off. I think a major reason why so many fans look past Gohan's out-of-character writing during the Cell games is because it's attached to one of the most emotional and cathartic scenes in all the franchise. I mean, you have Gohan's awakening, Goku's sacrifice, Gohan facing down Cell with just one arm. It's all so damn iconic. Also, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's characterization is more in line with how Gohan had been portrayed before the Cell games, but his desire to use his power for justice had been corrupted by his rage-boosted Super Saiyan state, which led him to take his time torturing Cell and enjoying it. This parallels with Super Saiyan Goku letting Frieza power up on Namek, primarily so he could get a good fight, but secondarily to crush Frieza's pride.
You know what I find really strange? Why aren't we talking about how out of character Gohan was after he transformed? That was like the whole point of Super Saiyan 2. Like, Gohan at no point ever like wanted to torture anybody. Like, he literally just said, like, in the beginning of this fight before he transformed, that he didn't want to kill anybody, but he's totally down for torture. He's totally down for making people suffer. What? You're telling me that that's more in character for Gohan than him saying that he doesn't want to fight? I'm not going to use the P word anymore because that's not what Gohan said. That's not what anyone said. Like, if, like, you would have to, in order for this to be consistent, you would have to accept, you would have to accept that in order for Gohan to say that he doesn't want to fight, to be out of character, you would in turn be agreeing that Gohan, after he transforms into a Super Saiyan 2 and wants to torture Cell, is in character. And I know that's a fallacy of its own. Like, obviously, both of those things can be true in isolation. But, like, because we're not addressing it, we kind of just skimmed past the fact that literally Gohan wants to torture this dude. Like, the fact that we're not addressing it points to me, like, that points to you believing that is perfectly within character for Gohan, when the entire crux of this, the entire point is that, like, the moment that came before, when Gohan said he didn't want to fight, was out of character. Okay, so Gohan not wanting to fight is out of character, but Gohan wanting to torture people is in character, right? Why aren't we talking about the fact that the Gohan's character after he transforms is also out of character for him? And why would that, and what would be the difference between that being good writing compared to the other one being bad writing? I know nobody said that it was good or bad writing, but, like, we gotta look at this from all sides. Like, Gohan goes through like 2 major character shifts back to back. And we're saying one is not okay and the other one is. Why? Why and how? Sure.
And just as in a way Dragon Ball Z began with the death of Krillin, it looks like it was supposed to end with the death of Cell, as he represents everything Dragon Ball became during this action-focused era, containing the DNA of every single major antagonist and Goku himself, with Cell even threatening to destroy the entire solar system. Toriyama just taking things to the absolute extreme, having Cell one-up Vegeta and Frieza, who boasted about their planet-destroying capabilities.
For the record, I don't believe for a second that Vegeta or Cell are able to do the things they say they can do. I just don't. This is more of a point against like power scalers when they talk about Cell. It's like, oh, he can blow up a solar system. You cannot prove that. Just because he says he can doesn't mean he can. There's no evidence of it. Cell is overrated. In terms of power, as a character, he's pretty cool.
I mean, what the hell does blowing up the solar system even mean? What would that even look like? But as Gohan's clash with Cell comes to an end, with a little help from Vegeta, the bio-android is vanquished, and peace is restored to the Earth. And with Goku dead, Vegeta retiring from combat, Trunks returning to his future, and Gohan now being able to live a peaceful life without fighting, all members of the once battle-proud Saiyan warrior race will battle no longer, leaving Toriyama free to reinvent Dragon Ball in what I can only describe as a Dragon Ball reboot. The beginning of the Buu saga is always so weird to read, but in an interesting way. The vibe and tone are so different. Unlike the Android saga, which started with the return of the previous saga's main antagonist, and the Saiyan saga, which led straight into the Namek saga, this one feels so divorced from the Cell saga. It has the longest time skip by far, characters are given all new designs, new characters that aren't just there to be villains or introduce the new villain are introduced, Gohan's going to school. The vibe is so different, it really does feel like a Dragon Ball reboot. Especially with the anime's new opening with a whole new song, which just screams, yes, Gohan is the protagonist of Dragon Ball now. And we can't talk about this era of Dragon Ball without talking about the Great Saiyaman, Gohan's dorky superhero alter ego that Toriyama just loved to draw. And on that note, Toriyama even has Gohan break the fourth wall multiple times, one time when he announced that Krillin is retiring. Like, this is Krillin, Goku's first martial arts rival and Gohan's brother in arms during the Namek saga. This Krillin retiring, just emphasizing just how much Dragon Ball is moving away from its action martial arts vibe and going to something more low-key. Toriyama was back in his element. He wasn't thinking about any world-ending threats appearing, he was too busy having a great time, writing gags with Gohan playing baseball, doing his goofy Saiyaman poses, and accidentally revealing his identity to Videl. Toriyama gladly would have written Dragon Ball like this, perhaps for the entire saga, if he could have gotten away with it. As it turns out that fans came to Dragon Ball for a martial arts shonen battle manga, and ultimately Toriyama had to oblige. Perhaps the tonal whiplash was too much, as Gohan went from backhanding Cell Juniors into oblivion to doing goofy superhero poses in the space of about a dozen chapters.
And this is why you don't listen to your fans. Ever. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Or at the very least, curate those decisions. I'm pretty sure that he could have found a way to do both. But, at the same time, yeah, it's a new saga. It's like a whole fucking 7 years past the Cell games. Obviously, everything should be different. Sure. I don't really have a point. It's just that, I think it's kind of stupid to yes, I get it. The fans kind of twisted his arm to make the show actiony. But would that count as a character assassination of Gohan if, once again, this peace-loving character is just goofing around, having fun, and then once again he's thrusted into, a world-ending disaster? Is there an inconsistency here that I'm missing? I don't know.
Meanwhile, it took hundreds for Dragon Ball to go from a fun, goofy adventure manga to death matches on exploding planets. And it's here where we get that infamous Toriyama quote, wherein he said, "I intended to put Gohan into the leading role. It didn't work out. I felt that compared to Goku, he was ultimately not suited for the part." And unfortunately for Gohan fans, this is true. This new Gohan Toriyama had created was made for the laid-back Dragon Ball. The Great Saiyaman manga, if you would. So if Dragon Ball was to go back to more how it was before, Gohan no longer had a place as its protagonist. How could he be the lead of a battle manga when he doesn't like to battle? Even when looking back on the Buu saga, Toriyama himself describes it as having two halves. The first half with Gohan as the protagonist, and the second half with Majin Buu as the antagonist. And when you read the manga, when Goku comes back from Otherworld and the Kaioshin appears with Kibito, Gohan does indeed begin to fade into the background. But just as it looks like Gohan is about to reinsert himself back into the spotlight, his main character energy is quite literally sucked out of him. I remember when I first watched this scene on Toonami, man. I was so excited. I was like, okay, that Great Saiyaman stuff was kind of fun, but this is the Gohan I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to see Super Saiyan 2 come back and see Gohan catch a couple bodies, you know what I'm saying? But then, the most frustrating scene in the...
You want Super Saiyan 2 Gohan to come back? Why? That would involve... that would involve him acting out of character, wouldn't it? Huh? I'm so confused now. I thought we were talking about how Gohan was assassinated character-wise, and how one of his biggest moments in Dragon Ball came at the cost of, his character consistency, even though, literally everything that had come before indicated that, Gohan ought to not be into fighting like that, but then turned into this fucking sadist as soon as he transforms. That's the Gohan you want? What? What character are we talking about? I think it's the right time to bring this up. But personally, I don't want to have to I don't have to go that far. This Gohan right here, you can't see my mouse, damn it. The top left. This version of Gohan with the training gi, this is my favorite version of Gohan. In fact, this is technically the Broly Second Coming version. This is the only figurine of Gohan that I own. Not only that, but early on, when I was introduced to Dragon Ball, not that long, fuck, words. Words are hard, I understand. But My first Dragon Ball related action figure was an adult Gohan, dressed like this. It was early Busaga training gi, purple training gi like this one. And this was like, I think by the time I had that figure, I think we were still like in the middle of Androids. I don't even think we were introduced to Android 17 and 18 yet. I think they were still going after Dr. Gero and all that. And at some point, my grandmother bought me and my brother Dragon Ball action figures. And initially, upon seeing it, I was like, who the fuck is this? Who the fuck in Dragon Ball wears a purple gi as a Super Saiyan? I don't know who, what? But on the box, it said Super Saiyan Son Gohan. I'm like, what? This is what Gohan becomes? When? At what point? I'm so confused. And I took it to school, and I showed it off to all my friends, and they were all equally confused. Like, what the fuck? Who? What? This is Gohan? It's like, yeah. And that was like one of my favorite figures that I ever owned. And for some reason, he had like, his gi was removable. So you could have him like shirtless. And it was cool. And like, he didn't just have like yellow Super Saiyan hair. It was like gold. It was cool. So this became like my favorite Gohan design. But then we finally got to the Buu Saga, and it's like, oh, it's like, he's just Gohan, but as an adult. I like this. This is fun. And I'm jumping ahead here, because I know it's coming eventually. It's going to come when he's talking about Ultimate Gohan. But personally, Ultimate Gohan is my least favorite version of Gohan. I hate Ultimate Gohan. Hate him. And real talk, although that moment with the Cell games was fantastic, in terms of like versions of Gohan that I like, Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan does not sit that high very anymore. I still love Gohan as a character, but I don't like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan when he is a Super Saiyan 2. At least during the Cell games. He's not as bad in the BoJack movie. But like, Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan is one of my least favorite characters. It's definitely one of my least favorite versions of Gohan. Aesthetically, it's cool. Is it badass that he can like, one-shot Cell Juniors and he had that really cool father-son Kamehameha moment? Yes. All that is great. I love all of that. But that is not sustainable. That does not make for a sustainable long-term character. And I think that's what Toriyama meant. Like, in order to make Gohan work in a battle shonen environment where he is the main character, he would have to consistently go back into that mode. And that would not work. That would be a character assassination. And weirdly enough, what everyone is asking for is exactly that. That's what everyone wants out of Gohan, and I just do not understand. I don't get it. Why would you want that? I think, for the most part, Toriyama made the right call. It could have been handled way better than it was, but the reasoning behind it, I understand. I think I understand that now more than I did before. Now that I've worked it out in my head. At least I gained something out of this conversation.
Great Saiyaman stuff was kind of fun, but this is the Gohan I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to see Super Saiyan 2 come back and see Gohan catch a couple bodies, you know what I'm saying? But then the most frustrating scene in the entire series happens, just as we think Gohan is gonna become him again. Like, I know it had to happen for Kaioshin's plan to work, but Toriyama could have at least let Gohan one-shot Spopovich after what he did to Videl. Like my boy Kid Gohan back in the Namek Saga, he wouldn't have stood there while Videl got her head stomped on. On that note, it's kind of funny how...
I vaguely agree, but probably not to the same way that he is mentioning it. I absolutely believe that the way things should have happened was that Gohan, watching Videl get her ass beat, kind of just innately just goes Super Saiyan 2. Just out of pure rage. Tries to save her, ends up getting jumped by Spolkovich anyway. That's probably how it should happen. I think it was a little lame just for, like, Kibito to politely ask him to transform, and then he got jumped. It's like, no, that's stupid. I think it would have been made more sense, been more diegetic if he just had a rage fit and then get jumped. But then that would beg the question of, like, if Gohan's a Super Saiyan 2 and he's raged out against Popovich, how would someone like Yamu get the jump on him when he's on high alert? Because I imagine that Gohan would at least, even in his rage, would not be stupid enough to just attack Spopovich and expect Yamu to just do nothing about it. You know? So I imagine that would be pretty difficult to write. I get that. But, like, I don't know. Maybe there's probably better ways.
One chapter, Videl was resolved to go with Gohan to Babidi's spaceship. But the next chapter, she says nah and leaves. Videl was a major character during the Great Saiyaman saga, and now she's pretty much gone from the story. But you know what's more tragic than Gohan just watching as his would-be wife gets her teeth knocked out? The fact that that was the last time Gohan ever used Super Saiyan 2 in the manga. The transformation that he introduced to the series and that he's best known for. That was the last time.
So what? He goes Super Saiyan 2 like 2 more times in the anime. I don't see the purpose of trying to, like, bottle this conversation into the manga. Because he just said he just reread the manga, right? Did he not watch the anime? I know he's aware of the anime, but did he not watch it? Because, like, if we're talking about the totality of Gohan's character arc, and all the different mediums that he exists in, no, he goes Super Saiyan 2 a few more times after this. In the manga exclusively, sure. But that's not the only version of Gohan. And it seems like the manga version of Gohan isn't even all that different from the anime version of Gohan anyway. So what's the point? What's the point of even bringing it up? I don't get manga readers, man. I really don't.
I know that there's some debate as to whether or not he used it against Dabura in the anime, but in the manga it's painfully obvious. He was in Super Saiyan 1 against Dabura. Toriyama always drew lightning for Super Saiyan 2 characters, and it even became a plot point that Gohan was so weak compared to his child self. Goku even tells Gohan to get angry as he did when he fought Cell, which translates to, Gohan, please transform into a Super Saiyan 2, please. But Gohan just can't do it, and then Gohan's unique ability to transcend the Super Saiyan War completely gets given to Goku and Vegeta, the Saiyans that will ultimately...
Okay, I stand corrected. I guess he didn't. I don't know if I don't know if that's a difference between anime and manga. It's been a while since I watched the anime. But yeah, okay, I'll take that L. Sure, he doesn't go Super Saiyan 2 again. But why would you want him to? Is my real point, though. Like, so what if he doesn't? That... You're literally asking Gohan to be out of character. Like, what is...
Be relevant in defeating Majin.
You know what? Okay, right. I'll give you this. I guess the fact that Gohan is having difficulty getting angry is out of character. Sure, because when his loved ones are in danger and yada yada yada, he can do something about it. He'll get mad and he'll go in a rage and blah blah blah. Sure, right. He was pretty ready to jump Spopovich. Like that was going to happen, but he didn't. He showed self-control. I think that is more of a sign of character growth that, like, he doesn't just blindly charge into bullshit when he doesn't have to. Or, when it wouldn't be wise to do so. Because it's not like whenever Gohan went into a rage, it's not like things worked out after. Like, he would get a licking, but, like, that would be the end of it. And then he would nearly die immediately after. Every single time. The only time it worked was against Cell. So it's like... Yeah, it's probably not good that he just gets mad and then goes berserk. It's probably for the best that he doesn't do that. But who knows?
Majin Buu. Oh yeah, on the note of Majin Buu, he gets released and proceeds to one-shot Gohan, who stood no chance. From protagonist to perished. Rest in peace, my boy Gohan. Toriyama did you dirty. Okay, Gohan's not really dead yet. But let's focus on the titular antagonist, Majin Buu, as it's very clear from his design to his power set that Akira Toriyama decided to step sideways when it came to developing his antagonist. Instead of going for a bigger, badder enemy in the more traditional sense like a Cell 2.0, it looks like in stepping back to what he's more comfortable with, Toriyama stepped into the realm of parody. Some people call the Majin Buu saga a parody of Dragon Ball due to the insanity of it all. Majin Buu looks like the furthest thing you'd imagine when it comes to a Dragon Ball villain thus far. Goku's insane looking Super Saiyan 3 transformation comes out of nowhere. Dancing becomes the key to ultimate power rather than an emotional transformation, and there's Vegeta's famous line of the Super Saiyan bargain sale. Personally, I wouldn't go that far, but there's definitely an element of Toriyama making fun of how his manga had evolved over the decade, especially as his mentality for drawing it was, this is the end, so I'm going to draw whatever I want. Unfortunately for Gohan, this new mindset would take the form of the most elaborate, cruel joke played at his expense, as Toriyama would go out of his way to prove that Gohan was not protagonist material for Dragon Ball once and for all, as Gohan was still very popular at this time, and many fans were still waiting for Gohan to make his comeback. Meanwhile, Toei had produced 2 movies and a new opening, kinda pushing this idea of Gohan being the new protagonist of Dragon Ball. But what many fans see as a bright spot for Gohan's character, a second chance at redemption, a second chance at glory, was anything but. This is the mystic downfall of Ultimate Gohan. It all starts with good news for Gohan. Turns out he's not dead and has been taken to the world of the Kais to receive training in order to defeat Majin Buu. But to do so, he must pull out the Z-Sword. Man, I remember when I was a kid and then I heard of the Z-Sword and I thought, oh, that's what the Z in Dragon Ball Z stands for. Yo, when Gohan gets his hands on the Z-Sword, he's gonna be so back. He's gonna be so back. Now, this is some straight out of King Arthur shit, which seems at odds with the heavy sci-fi direction Dragon Ball had been going with for some time. But hey, this saga was more into gods and magic, with the antagonist even being named after a bloody Cinderella spell, so whatever. Plus, around this time, Toriyama had been drawing a lot of JRPGs like Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger, so maybe that influenced him, or this is all just a callback to Gohan using the sword as a child. But whatever, tangent aside, Gohan manages to pull out the sword, Goku comes to visit, and then the sword breaks, and we are introduced to the old Kai, and technically, we're introduced to our very first mention of Beerus, and one of the funniest gags in the Buu saga with Goku almost killing him, and one of the funniest gags in the Buu saga to our very first mention of Beerus.
What? Beerus?
Kai, and technically, we're introduced to our very first mention of Beerus.
Give me a sec. I'm really trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but like, he's making it hard. What chapter is this? There's like, I'm not good at looking this up. Dragon Ball chapter. I don't fucking know. It'll have to be this, right? Chapter 488. I know he said technically, which is kind of like a cop-out way of saying, in a way, if you turn your head sideways and squint, you can maybe make out the possibility that he's mentioning Beerus right now. Nope, too far. Swear it breaks. Holy crap, the quality is it's awful. He was an incredibly strong evil fellow, although probably not as strong as Buu. He sealed me into that sword. Is that what he's talking about? He's saying the same things. It's not... Not... Did I hear him right? Am I having a stroke?
But whatever, tangent aside, Gohan manages to pull out the sword, Goku comes to visit, and then the sword breaks, and we are introduced to the old Kai, and technically, we're introduced to our very first mention of Beerus.
Is this confirmed? Is this a thing? Did I miss something? Was that a loose end that was tied through Dragon Ball Super or something? This must have been something that was revealed early in Super that I just skipped. Not as strong as Boo, he said. That's what's tripping me up. One day always snuck up and blah blah blah. Yeah. Cause destruction and go each other's realms. The whole coordination meeting during one of these meetings. They got into an argument over some trifling thing, and a certain short-tempered Beerus sealed old Kai away inside the Z-Sword. Okay. Alright, I guess that was just a loose end that was tied up. See what happens when you, like, look things up and you don't, like, make assumptions? Magical things happen.
And one of the funniest gags in the Buu saga, with Goku almost killing him as a test. Anyway, it turns out that old Kai has the ability to bring out one's potential beyond its limits, kind of like a better version of the ability Guru had back on Namek. The only downside is that they have to sit through a tedious ritual complete with aforementioned dance, and this is one of those instances where you can really see Toriyama begin to lean into the parody aspect of the Buu saga, as he kinda makes fun of just how stupid power-ups had gotten in his series. Case in point, let's take Goku getting over 30 times stronger in about 20 minutes because he got beaten up. Like, the fight scenes peaked in the Namek saga, but so did the power creep. He even has old Kai fall asleep and read manga while bringing out Gohan's potential, kinda showing just how bored Toriyama had gotten with Gohan, since his plan for Gohan to be the protagonist of his Stealth Dragon Ball reboot didn't quite pan out. But on the other hand, Toriyama was having a great...
I know that one wasn't intentional, but once again, I have to acknowledge a good pun. I must.
Time with a whole new character, a character that the contrast with Gohan, who had to sit still to become the ultimate warrior, this warrior requires a dance in order to come into existence. Enter Gotenks. Toriyama has gone on record multiple times saying that Super Buu vs Gotenks is one of the favorite fights he drew in the manga, and you can really see him strike a fine balance between his gag manga roots and drawing more serious action. That's why it's one of my favorite fights in the...
I know we're like a half hour in and I haven't mentioned this at all. I don't really have a reason to bring this up right now, but I don't know, because I'm kind of just in a daze at this point, I have to bring it up. Why the fuck are you just standing around with a microphone in your hand? Sit down, you fucking weirdo. Like, get a mic stand. Stop being weird. God, people are weird. You're tiring me out. Fuck.
Whole series. There's the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, which is a gag and an effective technique all at once. This is how we got such imaginative moves, like the Super Ghost Kamikaze, the Galactic Donuts, the volleyball attack. Two of these take up Toriyama's top 3 techniques that he ever made for the series. And that over-the-top, creative, dynamic spark Toriyama had for battles in the Saiyan and Namek saga even makes a reappearance during the fight as Gotenks and Buu scream through dimensions and fight on Earth. Gotenks even comes admirably close to defeating Super Buu, and maybe would've if his fusion didn't run out, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. Meanwhile, in the world of the Kais, okay, at this point, Toriyama is just using old Kai as a mouthpiece, as he's been done with the power-up ritual for a while, but didn't tell Gohan in order to make things more dramatic. Gohan then unleashes his potential, but doesn't look all too different. Now, this is part of Ultimate Gohan's appeal, but a cynical part of me kinda believes that Toriyama just couldn't be bothered to come up with a new transformation for him. Still a better design than Beast though. But you know what? For just a minute, let's pretend that this whole Ultimate Gohan gag really was supposed to be a major turning point for his character for the better.
Thank you for waking me up till now. How many times I've tried to tell you please take.
God, even before he even gets... Gohan just looks like a fucking idiot as Ultimate. I can't stand it. I can't stand Ultimate Gohan. Fuck. There's nothing good about... Ugh.
Care of yourself. Then with tear-stained eyes, I sadly said goodbye as I waved and wished you farewell. Then I think of how much longer I must wait. I look inside myself and feel something new. I wanna stop and grow up a bit. It's all because I'm feeling sad and then I cry. I don't know why. The courage that I need, the power to succeed, gives me the strength to fly.
Can we please move on?
It's all
Well, it should, because Gohan just performed what I've dubbed the Goku landing. Just like Goku arriving just in time to save his friends against King Piccolo, Nappa, Frieza, the Ginyu Force, Gohan has done that exact same thing. He's mirrored Goku exactly while dressing just like him. Toriyama just gave Gohan one of his favorite Goku tropes, but unlike Goku, who always caught a dub after performing a Goku landing, Gohan wouldn't enjoy the same fortune. You can dress Gohan like Goku. You can give Gohan power surpassing Goku. You can give Gohan an antagonist weaker than he is, but it won't work because Gohan is not Goku and Toriyama wants you to know that. The beatdown that Gohan suffers against Buu is just mean. But I will kind of defend Toriyama here, as a lot of people say that, oh, that Gohan got cocky again, he was playing with his food, whatever, but a lot of that is just anime filler, because in the original manga, Gohan vs Super Buu lasts for 5 pages. Gohan's shining moment of glory in the Buu saga lasts for 5 pages. Meanwhile, Gotenks got 6 chapters in his fight with Super Buu. And arguably he got closer to defeating Buu than Gohan did, and didn't have to suffer the brutal indignity that Gohan is about to endure. You can really tell which character the author preferred drawing. Oh yeah, and in case you are wondering, Gohan does call Buu a redacted in the manga. Make of that what you will. And in a way, the anime is even meaner with this whole Buu beating up Gohan thing, as the anime has Buu and Gohan reenact Goku and Vegeta's poses from the Saiyan saga. Like,
I hate this too. I'm not gonna lie, I also really fucking hate this. There's no reason for this to happen. Neither Gohan nor Buu were present to even be aware of these two poses. This is such a ridiculous fucking coincidence that it doesn't even really pass off as an homage or anything like that to me. In fact, because it's the same series. Shut up, phone. Because it's the same series, basically referencing itself in such a weird manner. It's very masturbatory, in my opinion, and I hate it. Boy, do I hate it.
Gohan is not him. He's not gonna win. He's not that guy. Stop giving false hope. Gohan just gets the shit beaten out of him.
To be fair, Goku didn't win that fight either. So yeah, still consistent.
During a desperate struggle to survive, and after one of the most suspect scenes in the manga, he even gets beaten up off panel. Toriyama can't even be bothered to draw some of the beatdown. And in the end, Gohan is left looking like this. Now, I'm just saying it looks similar to this. Could be a coincidence. I'm just calling it how I see it, cause it is not looking good for him. To be fair to Gohan, Vegeta also got the shit beaten out of him multiple times by Buu during this saga. But one of them led to his greatest character moment, while the other was necessary in order for Goku to charge the Spirit Bomb. Meanwhile here, Gohan just gets the shit beaten out of him just to emphasize that he is not that guy. He is not Goku, he's not the protagonist, he is cooked. Then Tien had to step in to assist. I mean, props to Tien, but this was not Gohan's equivalent of Goku having to be saved by Yajirobe during the Saiyan saga, as the true main protagonist returns. Gohan then drops the Potara, because of course he does, and then gets absorbed, and that is the ultimate fate of Ultimate Gohan. Then a few chapters later, Kid Buu blows up the planet with Gohan on it, and so Gohan dies in the most anticlimactic whatever way possible. From protagonist to perished, Toriyama really did Gohan dirty. You'd think the death of Gohan, a character we've been following from infancy to young adulthood, would have a bit more of an impact in the manga, but at this point Toriyama was done with his character, and he even made fun of how pointless death was in Dragon Ball, with another pretty funny gag, I'll admit. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of Gohan's relevancy in the Buu saga, although he did donate to the Spirit Bomb, essentially playing cheerleader, while the real protagonist finished off Buu. So as Gohan may have been forgotten as Dragon Ball's protagonist, you should definitely remember to check out War Fun spot he got in a Tournament of Power, and how Toriyama absolutely ruined that with Superhero, wherein I will finally give my full Beast Gohan critique and point out Toriyama's clear biases when it comes to writing for characters. So if that video is not up here already, click this video over here about.
So long story short, this is already twice as long as his video. Long story short, the character assassination doesn't come until the Buu saga. I don't know what that whole fucking thing with, like, Cell Games Gohan and the whole I'm a pacifist shit, even though I'm not a pacifist at all. Ain't nobody fucking said that Gohan's a pacifist. And the only time pacifism was ever used to describe Gohan was in an unofficial abridged series, which is an entire separate, I don't even want to call it canon. That's just an entire separate, even interpretation is too strong. They have an entire different storytelling than the original story. Even if it's like, even if it's an interpretation of what was going on in Cell Games to them, that's not what happened. That's not what he said. Still. And this is the shit I'm talking about. I think, personally, this started, according to Toriyama at least, when the fans demanded that they want a more action and combat-focused Dragon Ball. I think, ultimately, the fans are the ones who ruined Gohan. Not Toriyama. It's not Toriyama's fault that Gohan ended up the way he did. Yeah, he wrote the character that way, but people just did not accept a version of Dragon Ball that was just a fun, lighthearted gag manga where Gohan would have been the perfect main character for. It would have been fine. It could have been fine. But because of the pressure for Dragon Ball to remain this high action, like, power scaling nonsense fest, he's right. Gohan is not suited to that role. He's not a martial artist. He doesn't like fighting. He prefers peace. And the whole aspect of him becoming like a rage monster, that was something that was supposed to subside with the fact that, like, for once, he can live a normal life and not have to fight fucking planet-busting aliens and shit. But no. Can't have that. We must have the planet-busting aliens be present at all times. And we also still want Gohan to be present for all of it. Even though we've already established that Gohan doesn't want to do this shit. There's nothing out of character about it. That is, like, the one defining thing about his character. He doesn't want to do this shit. The entire first half, the first quarter of this video, was all about accusing Gohan of suddenly, like, becoming this thing that he just isn't. When that has always been, like, nothing that he ever did in the beginning of the series conflicted with the idea that if he doesn't have to, which in his mind at the time, of course, he didn't feel that he had to, because it's not like he was alone. It's not like he was in any sort of immediate world-threatening danger. Cell wasn't even trying to kill him. Cell could have killed him immediately. But Cell was fucking around. Goku was fucking around. Cell became perfect because Vegeta was fucking around. Nobody was taking anything seriously at the time. So understandably, Gohan's in a position where it's like, okay, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who could easily end this conflict, but for some reason, we're doing this weird parody of a tournament. So I guess no one is really... I guess we're not really in that much danger. We're really not in as much danger as they're making out to be. Clearly. Because everyone is just fucking around, right? Sure, whatever. At least that's what I would think. But none of that has anything to do with, like, Gohan's resolve or his willingness to stand up and fight when he absolutely has to, when people are in danger. Like, it's literally called Cell Games. They're just having fun. But Gohan doesn't find this fun. At all. It's like a group of friends going to a bar, and you invite that one introvert who doesn't drink, doesn't party, isn't social in any way, shape, or form, but you insist that he shows up because you need him as his wingman, or you need him as your wingman so he can pick up girls and shit, and he's super shy, he wants nothing to do with it, but he'll show up anyway because, you know, he's your friend and, you know, he wants to support you. But, like, showing up is the most he can do. And then you start picking a bar fight. And then you expect him to just, like, jump in. It's like, what? No! That's not what I came here for. The fuck? What part of me made you think? Like, it would be a different story, and on top of that, it'd be a different story if someone picked a fight with you, or if literally anybody, like, let's say the person who's picking the fight, or the person that they're picking the fight with, is just some super drunk dude who could have been dealt with, like, hours ago by either calling the police or somebody in the bar themselves just throwing him out. But no, everyone's all like, no, it's okay. He's not hurting anybody. Get him some more drinks. Then he started causing a racket. And then now, like, everyone expects the introverts to jump in and deal with him. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No. This is y'all problem. Y'all created this. I just came here to be my friend's wingman. Fuck that. This is not like the time when those home invaders broke into our house and threatened to kill us all. Yeah, I jumped in then. They had guns. They had guns and we didn't expect it to happen. I don't know, man. If anything, if there was a character assassination on Gohan, Gohan was assassinated by the fans. That's my conclusion. I don't blame Toriyama at all. I mean, he could have did it better, obviously, but like, ultimately, he was trying to adapt to the demands of his fan base. He made the right call. Gohan is not suited for that role. And the fact that they're trying to force Gohan into, like, doing stuff, like, I'd be perfectly happy with Gohan being a side character and not really doing much of anything in Super. I just don't like the fact that they keep shoehorning him in these new arcs and just giving him power-ups just to shut us up. Like, I don't care if Gohan gets a new transformation. And I think Beast Gohan is really fucking stupid. The whole thing is just really dumb. But, you know, you can't stop for anything. His character arc has been long over. His character arc has been over since the Cell Saga. But he has to be there. He has no choice. I think the best thing for Toriyama to do, and I guess he sort of kind of touched on his superhero a little bit, is just establish the fact that, like, Gohan still doesn't like fighting. He'll still protect the Earth when need be, but that's, like, the only way you could get him to do it, you know? He was there for the moral arc. He was there for superhero, I guess. He's there for the tournament power. But there's no point in pushing it. There's nothing to be gained by pushing Gohan to be something that he's not. He's not a fighter. He never was. I don't know what character they're referring to when they talk about a character assassination. But if a character assassination ever happened, it was definitely by the fans. And it was some weird, whacked out, imaginary version of Gohan that people just made up in their heads. And that's my take on the whole thing.